Has anyone ever experienced this feeling? When a man is penniless, with nothing but a few unrealistic dreams, you're willing to give up everything to be with him. From a stable job and close relationships to a comfortable life he once had, I willingly gave it all up, just to start a business from scratch with Linja. During those years, we crammed into a small rented room, subsisting on instant noodles, and staying up all night revising business plans. I thought that as long as we shared the hardships, the day he succeeded would also be the day I could stand beside him in glory. But it turned out I was wrong. On the day the company was about to go public, the entire office erupted with excitement. Employees who had been with the company since its inception were all teary-eyed. Some clutched stacks of documents, trembling as if afraid it was just a dream. After years of hard work, they finally saw the light at the end of the tunnel. I hid in the corner of the stairwell and called my dad, my voice betraying my joy. "Dad, Linjo's company is going public. I told you he could do it." My dad's scornful laughter immediately rang out from the other end of the line. "If you hadn't secretly used our family connections to pave the way for him, would he even be able to go public? I think he'd have a better chance of going to heaven." He grew angrier as he spoke. "You're the young lady of the Sioux group, yet you hid your identity and suffered for years for some worthless kid. What is it about him that's worth you doing all this?" Before I could retort, a sudden commotion erupted outside. "Mr. Lin is so romantic!" My heart fluttered. A few days ago, I saw Linja's assistant secretly bringing boxes of red roses into the company. He also secretly bought a Harry Winston diamond ring. I guessed he was about to propose, so I deliberately pretended not to know, just waiting for that surprise moment. I even thought that as soon as he knelt down and proposed, I would immediately take him back to the Sioux family home, publicly reveal my true identity, and give him a moment of pride in front of everyone. Overwhelmed with happiness, I rushed towards the office. But the moment I pushed open the door and stepped inside, I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. In the middle of the office was a sea of vibrant red roses. Linja, impeccably dressed in a suit, knelt on one knee, holding a luxurious dark blue ring box. Unfortunately, the person standing opposite him wasn't me. It was Xia Ru, my best friend from college. Linza's gaze upon her was so gentle it sent chills down my spine. Ruru, before, I had nothing. I only dared to hide my feelings for you in my heart. But now, finally, I have the right to tell you. Marry me. Xia Ru covered her mouth, her eyes widening in feigned surprise. "Mr. Linja, am I dreaming?" Then she nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I agree." Immediately afterwards, she deliberately turned to look at me again, a hint of smug provocation in her eyes. "But Tian Tian will hate me. I can't steal him from you." The atmosphere around us instantly became strange. Eyes filled with pity, curiosity, and mockery all focused on me. Some people started whispering. "Huh? Isn't President Lin dating Tian Tian?" "That's Ha Nu, the daughter of the construction company owner. I heard she's also Tian Tian's best friend." I stood still amidst the chaotic chatter, feeling the blood in my veins growing cold. Linza put his arm around Hanu's shoulder and walked towards me, impatience clearly visible in his eyes. "Su Qian, you know. The person I've loved from beginning to end has always been Nu. I laughed out loud, but my throat tightened with bitterness. "So when you two broke up, when I asked if I could be your girlfriend, how did you answer me?" Linja was instantly speechless. Xianu quickly interjected, her soft voice giving me goosebumps. "We broke up because I had to go abroad to study. Besides, you and Linja aren't married yet." Linja, as if finding a lifeline, immediately chimed in. "That's right. Our relationship has always been that of superior and employee. When the company goes public, I'll give you a generous dividend. But the position of the CEO's wife, you're not qualified for." He tightened his grip on Shan Yu's hand, his voice full of arrogance. "Nu and I are the real powerful alliance." I looked at the two people in front of me and couldn't help but laugh. A construction company with less than 10 billion in revenue, and a company that wouldn't even make it to the stock exchange without the backing of the Sue family. And you dare call that a powerful alliance? The entire office fell silent. Xiaoru's face turned pale, then quickly flushed red with anger. What are you laughing at? Giving you dividends is already being very merciful. Linja immediately shielded her behind him like a precious treasure, his eyes warily watching me. I found it amusing. Having been with him for so many years, I had never been treated so gently. But in that instant, all the lingering affection in my heart vanished. I stopped laughing, my eyes turning cold. That's good. The matchmaking work is really professional. Each type fits perfectly. Someone in the crowd burst out laughing first, making Xiaoru's expression even more distorted. She immediately snuggled closer to Linja, acting coy and dramatic for the cameras. Brother Linja, he bullied me. I almost threw up on the spot. But what amused me even more was that Linja actually hugged her and comforted her. So this is his taste. Fine. I won't argue anymore. But my lost face? I must get it back. I took out my phone and called my dad, deliberately using a sickeningly sweet tone. Dad, can you come pick up your little darling? She's tired of playing and wants to go home. After saying that, I immediately hung up. Isn't it just about seeing who's a better actor? Who hasn't been a darling before? Linja's face turned as dark as the bottom of a pot after hearing that. Su Qianqian, calm down. I crossed my arms, lazily looking at him. Your dividends aren't even enough for my monthly allowance. I paused, then gave a sarcastic smile. Oh, and by the way, let me give you a piece of advice. Watch your words. If my father really comes here, your company might not even survive. No one believed me. Not even Xiaoru. She even mocked me for not knowing my limits. But just a few minutes later, when I turned and threw myself into the arms of a tall man who had just entered the company, the entire office fell silent. Dad, you finally came to pick me up. A faint, cool, woody scent enveloped me. The chest in front of me was unusually firm. I was about to exclaim how tall and fragrant my dad was today, when a soft chuckle echoed above my head. A deep, pleasant male voice. Miss Toe, it seems you've mistaken me for someone else. My mind exploded. It's over. I've really mistaken him for someone else. Behind me, Linja immediately flew into a rage. Su Qianqian, I can't believe you'd accept a foster father for money. Xiaoru also added fuel to the fire. Qianqian, if you're short on money, just tell us. Why lower yourself like this? I was so embarrassed I wanted to dig a hole and hide in it when the man calmly helped me up. Mr. Su is busy signing a contract, so he asked me to pick you up. That gentle remark was like a slap in the face to the two of them. But Linja still refused to believe it. He looked at me with contempt. Su Qianqian, when did you hire an actress? I was truly speechless at his incompetence. It wasn't until the black Rolls-Royce Phantom slowly pulled up in front of the company that both Linja and Xiaoru's expressions completely changed. I got into the car, finally unable to suppress a laugh. The man beside me calmly closed the car door, his voice calm. I'm Lu Ziyan. I secretly turned my head to look at him. His sharp, angular features, high, straight nose, and deep, cold, yet incredibly captivating eyes. He wore a simple black shirt, his sleeves rolled up to reveal strong veins. He was incredibly handsome. While I was still stunned, he unexpectedly handed me a beautifully wrapped box. I opened it. Inside was a pair of socks. I stared at him blankly. For socks? Lu Ziyan only slightly curved his lips. If you don't remember, then forget it. From that moment on, I had no idea that this man had liked me for a very long time. Upon arriving at the Su family's villa, I saw my father sitting solemnly on the sofa, his expression as dignified as if he were about to hold a shareholders' meeting. If it weren't for the huge durian under his bottom, the scene would have been quite believable. My mother stood beside him with her arms crossed, her face expressionless, completely ignoring my father's ingratiating gaze. As soon as he saw me enter, he sprang up like a spring, so quickly that the durian under him rolled away. The top trending topic clearly displayed the words, "A handsome man and a beautiful woman. Linja and Xiaoru officially announced their engagement." The photo showed the two holding hands and smiling so sweetly it looked artificial. Below were a series of comments from the online trolls. "What a powerful alliance! Childhood sweethearts finally reunited." "I heard the groom's ex-girlfriend is both poor and incompetent and even went looking for a sugar daddy." I read it while trying to suppress my laughter. They really are generous. My mother was so angry she slammed the table. "You can still laugh?" I lazily leaned against the pillow. "I was just wondering who paid for the trending topic. Linja's company is running out of funds, and the Shah family is also in financial trouble. These two are really risking their lives for the sake of appearances." But what drove the entire social media crazy wasn't their trending topic. It was Liu Ziyan's trending topic. In less than 5 minutes, the entire search engine exploded with that name. "The foreign financial tycoon returns. The Liu family heir officially enters the domestic market. The business world of City A is about to change." His information was completely dug up. The Liu family was an extremely secretive family, with businesses spanning overseas and assets so vast they were astonishing. But what drove netizens crazy the most was a post on his personal account. Just 2 sentences. "A powerful alliance? Want to see what a truly powerful alliance looks like?" The entire social media almost exploded. I stared at the screen, my eyelids twitching. Who was this person referring to? Before I could figure it out, my phone rang. It was Lin Zhe. As soon as I answered the phone, I heard his voice, full of frustration. "Su Qianqian, why aren't you at the company?" I chuckled. "Are you out of your mind? You're the one who dumped me." Lin Zhe took a deep breath, his voice strained. "You've always been in charge of the company's IPO files. Even if there's a personal conflict, you can't joke around with work. I want to see you at the company in 20 minutes. Otherwise, don't expect to receive your salary this month." It was then that I truly understood. So he only just remembered my value now? Those IPO documents were all completed by me and my team after many sleepless nights. Lin Zhe only had to sign them. He completely didn't understand what was inside. If I leave, the whole company will surely be in chaos. I leisurely took a sip of water and gave a wry smile. Don't waste your time looking at the documents anymore. Who knows, maybe later. Your company won't even have a chance to go public anymore. An angry roar immediately erupted from the other end of the line. "Su Qianqian, how can you be so cruel? Do you think clinging to Liu Ziyan means you'll never have to worry about anything again? Wait until he marries the real Miss Su, then you'll know what regret feels like." I almost burst out laughing. He still thinks I'm just a kept woman being kept. That's ridiculous. Think whatever you want. Just as I was about to hang up, he gritted his teeth and added, "If you don't help me, I won't give you another chance." Bang! The phone was abruptly hung up. I stared at the black screen and lazily flopped back onto the bed. "My friend," I muttered. "Don't close the door so quickly. I haven't had enough fun yet." After leisurely eating breakfast and putting on beautiful makeup, I still asked the driver to take me to Lin Zhe's company. Anyway, there's definitely going to be some drama to watch today. Sure enough, as soon as I entered the company, I felt the tense atmosphere. Outside the CEO's office, it was crowded with employees. Everyone was huddled together, their faces a mixture of anxiety and curiosity. Whispers filled the air. And inside the office, Lin Zhe's voice, almost pleading, could be heard. "Mr. Zhao, we already agreed on this beforehand. This is the most crucial time for the company. If we lose this project, we really won't be able to cope." I almost burst out laughing listening from outside. That deal was something I secretly asked Mr. Zhao to introduce me to. At the time, he even happily said it was an early wedding gift for me and Lin Zhe. Who would have thought that before we were even married, the groom-to-be would rush to bring his ex-girlfriend to the hot search to humiliate me in front of the whole city? Given Mr. Zhao's personality, the termination of the partnership was almost certain. I calmly pushed the door open and walked in. Besides Lin Zhe, Xia Ru was also in the room. As soon as she saw me, her expression immediately darkened. "What are you doing here?" she asked, hands on her hips. "You're no longer an employee of the company." I didn't even bother to look at her, only smiling at President Zhao. "It's been a long time. How are you?" President Zhao's smile widened as soon as he saw me. "Oh, Miss Su, you finally arrived." That Miss Su made Lin Zhe and Xia Ru's faces freeze simultaneously. I pulled up a chair and sat down, resting my chin on my hand and smiling faintly. "I heard you don't want to continue cooperating with this company anymore." President Zhao immediately nodded vigorously. I wouldn't dare, I just feel it's not a good fit." I nodded, pretending to understand. "Then how about we find another partner? I happen to have someone very suitable." Mr. Zhao immediately became interested. "Who is it?" I calmly uttered 3 words. "Lu Ziyan." The atmosphere in the room instantly fell silent. Lin Zhe and Xia Ru's faces visibly changed. Mr. Zhao's eyes lit up as if he'd won the lottery. "Really? If we can cooperate with the Lu family, what could be better?" In just a few short sentences, the deal that originally belonged to Lin Zhe's company changed hands right before his eyes. And the one who made the final decision was me. Mr. Zhao left happily, while in the hallway, unmistakable whispers began to spread. As soon as Sister Qian left, the company ran into trouble. Didn't they say Xia Ru was a rich girl? How come she couldn't even hold on to the project? A company like this, and they still want to go public? Every word of gossip felt like a slap in the face to Lin Zhe. His expression was terrifyingly grim, his eyes glaring at me with anger. "Su Qian, do you think you can get away with relying on men forever?" I chuckled. "At least I can still rely on you." "And you?" I glanced at Xia Ru standing beside him. "It seems like you're about to have nothing left to cling to." Xia Ru immediately stepped forward, wrapping her arm around Lin Zhe's as if declaring her ownership. "Mr. Lin Zhe, don't worry. I'll ask my parents to help the company continue its IPO." I almost burst out laughing. Help? Or perhaps they want to extract the last bit of value from this company. Just then, the door was suddenly pushed open. Xia Nu's parents rushed in, their faces pale. "It's terrible!" Xia Nu's mother almost screamed. "The Su Group has withdrawn its investment." The entire room fell silent. Xia Nu's father looked at Lin Zhe as if he were a lifeline. "Xiao Zhe, quickly transfer the dowry. We're in dire need of money." I stood there with my arms crossed, almost unable to resist applauding. Just minutes ago, they were acting out a scene of a powerful alliance, and now they're demanding the dowry to save the company. Truly remarkable. Xia Nu frantically asked, "Why did the Su family suddenly withdraw their investment?" Her mother was so anxious, she paced around the room. "We don't know either. We've never offended the Su family before." As she said this, her gaze unintentionally swept over me. I immediately straightened up. Finally, they've realized my identity? I had almost braced myself to hear her call me Miss Su. But the next second, she pointed her finger at my face and shouted, "Why are you still here?" "Is the CEO's office a place where someone like you is allowed to enter?" I froze for 3 seconds. No way. I'm also a Su. Didn't anyone suspect anything? Seeing there was nothing more to see, I reluctantly turned and left. But before closing the door, I clearly heard Xia Ru's confident voice behind me. "Don't worry, Mom. It's probably just a misunderstanding. I'll go talk to Uncle Su for a bit." I almost burst out laughing. "Great. The Uncle To you're looking for, he's probably eager to see you right now. It's a pity that Han Nu didn't get a chance to meet my father before something even more interesting happened." I don't know when it started, but Lo Trek Nyan has been coming to my house for dinner almost every day. He gave a very plausible excuse. "I like your cooking." Looking at the charred tilapia and the shapeless bitter melon scrambled eggs on the table, I began to question the meaning of life. Is it his taste buds that are the problem? Or my sense of taste that's the problem? My father was overjoyed that he finally had someone willing to share his hardships. Meanwhile, I gradually discovered something. Lu Ziyan is truly very subtle. Every time my mother isn't looking, he quietly takes the food-destroying dishes from my bowl and puts them on his own, eating them all without batting an eye. Then he secretly puts the meat or dishes I like back into my bowl. It's all so natural that it's hard for anyone to notice. Since he started coming to our house for meals regularly, I've gained almost 3 kilograms. The most dangerous thing is, I'm starting to get used to that gentleness. Lu Ziyan's gaze always carries an undeniable doting affection. But after what happened with Linja, I don't dare think too much about it. I can only tell myself, maybe he just sees me as a younger sister. Anyway, how could someone like him possibly like me? Until that Christmas Eve. Lu Ziyan was unusually late. As soon as my mother saw him, she pulled up a chair and started asking questions. "Why are you so late today? Is something wrong?" My father chimed in. "That's right, if anyone's been bullying you, tell me." Lu Ziyan was silent for a few seconds before slowly speaking. "Xia Ru has been coming to my company lately. Her parents even spread rumors that I came back to the country to marry her." My mother immediately flew into a rage, grabbing her rolling pin and jumping up. "Does that girl want to die?" I was drinking water and almost choked. For some reason, just thinking about Xia Ru clinging to Lu Ziyan made me incredibly uncomfortable. That feeling was completely different from seeing her and Lin Zhe together. It was like someone else touching something that belonged to me. Realizing that thought, I immediately panicked. That evening, I ate dinner in a dazed state and quickly retreated to my room. I thought I'd fall asleep, but in the middle of the night, I heard a soft knock on the door. I groggily got up and opened it. The next moment, I was stunned. The entire villa had transformed into a dazzling Christmas world. Warm yellow lights wrapped around the railings, and the Christmas tree, almost touching the ceiling, sparkled with silver. The air was filled with the sweet scent of gingerbread cookies. Right in front of my door was a bulging Christmas stocking. Curious, I bent down to take out what was inside. It was a tiny gingerbread man. Seeing it, memories I thought I'd long forgotten flooded back like a tide. I hugged the gingerbread man, standing in the middle of the lavishly decorated living room. The warm yellow light from the Christmas tree made everything feel soft, like a winter dream. Outside the window, the artificial snow glistened, reflecting the city lights, while within me a wave of indescribable emotion surged. Under the Christmas tree, Lu Ziyan sat there, his usual calm demeanor now tinged with a rare nervousness. He looked up at me, his deep eyes reflecting the sparkling Christmas lights, as if he had been waiting for this moment for a long time. "Su Qian," he whispered, his voice so low and gentle that it made my heart tremble. "I've searched for you for so many years, and finally I've waited for the day you see me." I bit my lip, trying to suppress the stinging sensation in my nose. Fragments of memories that seemed to have been buried in dust suddenly flooded back with strange clarity. The little boy standing in the freezing snow, his lonely eyes looking at me. The gingerbread man I slipped into his hand before running off. The silly, childish words that Santa Claus would grant all wishes. It turned out someone had remembered all those years. Lu Ziyan slowly stood up and walked towards me. He was much taller than me. Just by bending down, his warm breath gently brushed against the top of my hair. He looked at me for a long time, as if wanting to engrave my image into his eyes. "I originally intended to wait longer," he chuckled softly, "but seeing you being bullied, I couldn't stand it anymore." I laughed through my tears. "So that's why you deliberately got trending on social media?" "Yes," he admitted casually, showing no sign of embarrassment. "I just want the whole city to know that the Lu family wants to marry you." My heart felt like it was being gently squeezed. Unlike Linja's empty promises from back then, Lu Ziyan never used sweet words to deceive me. He always stood silently behind me, using actions to prove everything. When I was ridiculed, he appeared. When I was at my lowest point, he helped me save face. When I had lost faith in love, he patiently pulled me out of the ashes of the past, little by little. How could I not be moved by such a man? I looked up at him, tears glistening in the corners of my eyes, but my lips curved into a faint smile. Lu Ziyan, I whispered. Are you sure you won't regret it? Regret what? I mistakenly liked the wrong person for so long. He sighed softly, his warm hand gently stroking my head, his voice so tender it melted my heart. You're so silly. He leaned down and looked straight into my eyes. If it weren't for that time, how would you know who truly loved you? In that moment, all the last vestiges of my defenses crumbled. I rushed forward and hugged him tightly. Lu Ziyan was momentarily stunned, then immediately tightened his embrace, holding me as if I were the most precious treasure in his life. I could hear his heartbeat right next to my ear, each beat clear, passionate, and genuine. Outside, Christmas fireworks suddenly burst into brilliance against the night sky. The multicolored light shone through the window, reflecting on his face so beautiful it left me speechless. He lowered his head and gently kissed my forehead. To Tien Tien, he whispered. This time, let me protect you. I buried my face in his chest and nodded softly. Okay. At that moment, I suddenly understood something. True love isn't about flowery promises or extravagant public proposals. It's about, when you've been hurt to the point of losing all courage, there's still someone patiently walking up to you, gently saying, it's okay. From now on, you have me. The news of the marriage alliance between the Liu and Su families had just been announced, and City A was practically in chaos. The business world, media, and wealthy elite all focused their attention on the engagement ceremony held that weekend. Everyone was curious about who this mysterious young lady from the Su family, who had been so reserved for so many years, could make the notoriously cold and aloof heir of the Liu family openly pursue her to such an extent. While the whole city was buzzing with gossip, I was sitting in my wedding dress fitting room, lazily eating strawberries and scrolling through my phone. On the other side of the screen, Xia Ru still hadn't given up her self-deception. She kept posting one thing after another on social media, sometimes hinting that she was the one the Liu family was interested in, other times deliberately showing off blurry photos taken at Lu Ziyan's company entrance. In the comments section, countless accounts chimed in, showering her with praise as if she were the real, future Mrs. Liu. I just wanted to laugh. Indeed, shamelessness reigns supreme. While I was watching this amusing spectacle, the door to the room was suddenly pushed open. Lu Ziyan walked in, still wearing his neat black suit as if he'd just finished a meeting. But as soon as he saw me, the coldness in his eyes instantly vanished, replaced by his familiar tenderness. He leaned against the doorframe, his gaze lingering on the wedding dress I was trying on, remaining silent for a few seconds. Feeling uncomfortable under his gaze, I tugged at my dress and whispered, "Does it look bad?" Lu Ziyan seemed to snap out of his daze, cleared his throat softly, and stepped forward. He stood before me, his gaze so intense it made my heart race. "Not bad." "Then why are you staring like that?" His lips curved slightly. "I was just thinking." "Thinking what?" "Think about it. Can we go register our marriage right now?" I chuckled and casually popped a strawberry into his mouth. "Mr. Liu, what's the rush?" He naturally leaned down and bit off the remaining half of the strawberry in my hand, the distance so close that his hot breath brushed against my fingertips, making me blush. "I'm in a hurry," he replied in a low voice. "I'm afraid if we're a little slow, some ill-mannered person might jump out and steal my wife." Before I could react, my phone rang loudly. The screen clearly displayed two words, Linja. The atmosphere in the room instantly cooled down several degrees. Lu Ziyan lowered his eyes to look at my phone screen, his expression still calm but clearly unhappy. I suppressed a laugh, deliberately turning on the speakerphone before answering. Linja's urgent voice immediately rang out from the other end of the line. "Su Qian, where are you?" I lazily replied, "At home. I want to see you." "No." "Su Qian." His voice immediately rose, carrying an uncontrollable anger. Must you be so heartless? I almost burst out laughing. Heartless? He was the one who proposed to my best friend in front of the whole company. He was the one who dumped me because he thought I wasn't worthy to be by his side. Now that the company is on the verge of bankruptcy, he's blaming me for being heartless? That's the biggest joke in the world. Before I could open my mouth, Linja continued, his voice hoarse as if he hadn't slept for days. Qian, I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I was tricked by Xia Ru. She said her family could help me go public, that she would back the company. I was just momentarily foolish. The person I truly love is you. I was completely speechless at this. Beside me, Lu Ziyan gently took the phone from my hand. His movements were unhurried, but his eyes were chillingly cold. He held the phone to his ear, his voice so calm it created an invisible pressure. Mr. Lin. The other end of the line immediately fell silent. After a long pause, Linja's voice finally came through with difficulty. Mr. Lu? Lu Ziyan let out a soft, then said indifferently, my fiancé is busy right now. She won't be busy in the future either. If you continue to bother her, he paused, a slight, almost imperceptible smile playing on his lips. I wouldn't mind letting your company go bankrupt faster. After saying that, he hung up. The room fell silent for a few seconds. I looked up at him, trying to suppress a laugh, and asked, Mr. Lu, are you jealous? He lowered his eyes to look at me, his expression calm and unperturbed. Yes. I had only intended to tease him, but he admitted it so bluntly that I was speechless. Lu Ziyan chuckled at my stunned expression. He leaned closer, his fingertips gently stroking my flushed earlobe, his voice low and seductive. So? Future Mrs. Lu, could you perhaps comfort me a little? My heart felt like it had been gently scratched, both numb and burning. An ordinary man would be hard to resist, let alone the man standing before me, Lu Ziyan. The man usually so cold that the entire business world was wary of him. Yet now he was looking down at me with such tender eyes that it seemed to want to drown me in them. I tried to maintain my composure, cleared my throat, and turned away. You don't try the handsome guy trick. His lips curved slightly. Did it work? It was all right. He chuckled softly. The low, deep laughter in my ear made my face even hotter. I was about to step back when he put his arm around my waist, gently pulling me closer. Qian, he whispered my name. I'm serious. I looked up at him. The distance between us was so close that I could clearly see each of his long, dark eyelashes and the rare tension hidden deep in his eyes. Before, I always thought, he said slowly, as long as you were happy, that was enough. But now I've changed my mind. I don't just want to watch you from afar anymore. I want to be the one standing beside you for the rest of my life. His voice was soft, but each word felt like it fell straight into my heart. After being betrayed by Linja, I thought I would never easily believe in love again. I had once treated someone with genuine sincerity, only to receive contempt and public betrayal in return. That feeling was too painful. It hurt so much that I thought I would never open my heart again. But Lu Ziyan was like warm water in winter, slowly melting the ice in my heart without me even realizing it. He never pressured me, nor did he make any grand promises. He simply appeared at the moment I needed him most, silently supporting me, silently protecting me, silently making me understand what it feels like to be loved and cherished above all else. My nose suddenly stung. I lowered my head and whispered, Lu Ziyan, what if I get angry for no reason in the future? I'll comfort you. What if I do something wrong? I'll back you up. What if I get old and no longer beautiful? He answered almost without thinking. That's impossible. I was stunned. Huh? He lowered his head and looked at me, his gaze so gentle it made me want to drown in it. In my eyes, you're beautiful no matter what. My ears immediately burned. This man is usually quiet, but when he says sweet words, it's like he's trying to kill you. Before I could react, he unexpectedly leaned down and lightly kissed the corner of my lips. The kiss was very light, like a dragonfly skimming the water, but it sent a jolt through my whole body. I stared at him with wide eyes. Lu Ziyan remained calm as if nothing had happened. Only the slight redness of his ears completely betrayed his true feelings. I couldn't help but laugh. Ha ha! Mr. Lu! Hmm? You're blushing. No. Yes. You're mistaken. I laughed so hard my shoulders shook. No matter how cold and intimidating this man was on the outside, he was adorably clumsy when he was with me. Just then, the door to the room was suddenly pushed open. Mom said you two— My mother stopped abruptly as she entered. My father, behind her, was also stunned. The atmosphere was silent for a few seconds. I was still being held in Lu Ziyan's arms, the distance between us so close that even jumping into the Yellow River wouldn't wash away the embarrassment. My face instantly flushed bright red. My mother immediately covered her eyes and turned away, but the corners of her mouth stretched from ear to ear. Oh my God, I didn't see anything. My father also quickly turned around, muttering, "Young people these days are really—" He said that, but he conveniently closed the door for us. Me. Lu Ziyan. Outside, my mother's excited whispers to my father could still be heard. I won! I told you this boy definitely liked our daughter a long time ago. My father retorted defiantly. I just didn't get a chance to bet. I was so embarrassed I wanted to dig a hole and hide in the ground. Lu Ziyan, meanwhile, looked down at me, finally unable to suppress a soft chuckle. That gentle laugh completely melted my heart. After that embarrassing, failed attempt at catching them in the act, I almost didn't dare go downstairs to eat. Just imagining my mother's bright, nosy eyes made me want to disappear into the ground. Less than 10 minutes later, there was a knock on the door. Su Chen, my mother's voice rang out excitedly. Come down and have some fruit, daughter. I pulled the blanket over my head, pretending to be dead. I'm asleep. My mother was silent for 2 seconds, then coldly replied, Dead people don't blush. Me. ... Outside, I could still hear Lu Ziyan's faint laughter. This troublemaker actually dared to laugh. I angrily jumped up and opened the door, about to denounce him when I was met with his amused gaze. Lu Ziyan had changed into light gray pajamas, his hair slightly falling over his forehead, looking much younger than usual, completely devoid of his cold, oppressive demeanor from the business world. In his hand, he held a plate of peeled strawberries. I was stunned. He handed me the fruit plate, his tone incredibly natural. Your mother told me to bring this up. You actually listened to her? Yes. He nodded seriously. From now on, I have to win over my mother-in-law first. My face flushed again. This man really knows how to make people swoon more and more. I turned to go into the room when he suddenly grabbed my wrist. Chen. Huh? Will you go with me tomorrow? I looked at him suspiciously. Where? The corners of his lips curved slightly. On a date? Those 2 words coming from his mouth sounded both strange and funny. A famously cold CEO like Lu Ziyan seriously talking about dating felt somehow wrong. I tried to suppress my laughter and asked, So, Mr. Lu knows how to date? He was silent for a few seconds before honestly replying, I don't know. Then why did you invite me? I can learn. My heart started racing again. I really can't stand this kind of person who's cold on the outside but warm on the inside. The next day, as soon as I went downstairs, I saw an extremely unusual scene. Lu Ziyan was sitting on the sofa, his face serious, looking up something on his phone. My father was sitting next to him, gesticulating like a strategist. I walked closer out of curiosity. What are you two doing? My father immediately cleared his throat and hid his phone behind his back. Nothing. I looked at Lu Ziyan suspiciously. He calmly showed me the phone screen. The search term was clearly displayed. 100 dating spots that will make girls swoon. Me. My lips twitched violently. My father immediately betrayed his teammate. He even asked me how to naturally hold a girl's hand for the first time. This time, Lu Ziyan's ears turned red. He glared at my father. Uncle. My father immediately pretended to look around and whistled. I couldn't hold back anymore and burst out laughing on the sofa. The man in front of me was Lu Ziyan, the kind of man whose mere presence would make the entire business world wary. And yet, he was now sitting there researching dating tips. No matter how I thought about it, it was incredibly adorable. Lu Ziyan was helpless from my laughter and finally had to pull me up. Let's go. I was still laughing so hard my stomach hurt. Where are we going? He took my hand, his deep voice whispering in my ear. To do things you've never experienced before. The black Rolls-Royce slowly pulled away from the villa. I had expected someone like Lu Ziyan to take me to a high-end restaurant or some luxurious place like a CEO in a movie. Who would have thought our first stop would be an amusement park? I stood at the entrance, stunned for a few seconds. Are you sure? Yes. Do you know how to play these games? I don't. I almost burst out laughing. It was completely out of place for someone who spends all year in meetings and working to be in an amusement park filled with children's laughter. But what surprised me even more was he was actually very serious. Serious about queuing up to buy tickets. He seriously held the map, looking at which game I liked. He seriously bought me a bunny ear headband and, without batting an eyelid, put it on my head. I looked at myself in the mirror, then at his cold face and finally couldn't help but ask, Lu Ziyan? Don't you think your image as a domineering CEO is crumbling? He lowered his head to look at me, his eyes as gentle as water. In front of you, he said softly, I don't need an image. In that moment, the surrounding noise seemed to disappear. In my eyes, there was only him. The man who had silently liked me for many years. The man who always stood behind me, protecting me. And also the man who was using all his clumsy sincerity to love me little by little. My first date with Lu Ziyan ended with us both carrying a huge pile of stuffed animals that almost couldn't fit in the car. The reason? That Lu Ziyan was incredibly competitive. Initially, he just wanted to try the claw machine game for fun. But after repeatedly failing in front of me, his expression became increasingly serious, like he was in a board meeting. Finally, he spent a whole stack of coins and stood stubbornly in front of the machine for almost an hour. I sat beside him, eating ice cream and laughing until my stomach hurt. Mr. Lu, let's just forget about it. No. It's just a bear. He stared coldly at the claw machine. I don't believe I can't win it. 10 minutes later, he actually won a tiny white rabbit. The nearly 1.9-meter-tall man stood before me, holding the tiny stuffed animal, his face as serious as if he'd just successfully signed a multi-billion-dollar contract. For you. I looked at the rabbit in his hand, a smile involuntarily curving my lips. Only one? He was silent for 2 seconds, then turned his head to continue exchanging coins. The result was that the trunk of his Rolls-Royce was later stuffed with stuffed animals of all colors. From that day on, almost the entire city of A knew one thing. The famously cold heir of the Lu family was actually a true wife-obsessed man. And this was quickly proven true. On the day of the engagement ceremony, the entire most luxurious hotel in the city was reserved. Brilliant crystal chandeliers stretched from the grand hall all the way to the spiral staircase. Thousands of white roses covered the space, creating a scene straight out of a fairy tale. I stood in front of the mirror in my wedding dress, feeling nervous for the first time. The designer was adjusting my veil when my mother walked in. She looked at me in the mirror, her eyes suddenly reddening. My daughter, you've really grown up. I had been smiling, but hearing that, my nose stung. My mother came over and gently stroked my hair, just like when I was little. From now on, if you get bullied, come home immediately, okay? I laughed. Who would dare bully me again? After saying that, I paused myself. That's right. Now no one can bully me anymore. I'm no longer the girl who, out of love, hid her identity and foolishly sacrificed everything for an unworthy man. Now I have my family to support me. Someone loves me with utmost respect. And I also have the ability to make anyone who ever looked down on me pay the price. Suddenly there was a commotion outside. A staff member rushed in. "Miss, something's wrong." Before I could even ask, she whispered, "Linja's here." The atmosphere in the room immediately fell silent. My mother frowned instantly. "Does he still have the nerve to come here?" I was much calmer than expected. "Let me go see." In the lobby, almost all the guests had arrived. Melodious music filled the hall, but a small commotion had broken out near the entrance. Linja stood in the middle of the crowd. His suit wrinkled, his eyes bloodshot as if he hadn't slept for days. Compared to his former dashing appearance, he was now so haggard that he was almost unrecognizable. When he saw me come out, his eyes immediately lit up. "Qian Qian." He wanted to rush forward but was stopped by the security guard. "Qian Qian, I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong." His voice was hoarse and pitiful. "I shouldn't have betrayed you. I shouldn't have trusted Xia Ru, and I shouldn't have treated you like that. Can you give me another chance?" Whispers and murmurs began to spread around us. I stood on the high staircase looking down at him. In that moment, I suddenly remembered my past self. I remembered the girl who used to sit with him in that cramped, rented room, eating instant noodles for months on end, still believing that if they both tried hard, their future would definitely be better. Unfortunately, people change in the end, or perhaps he never changed. It's just that I wasn't clear-headed enough to see things clearly before. I looked at him for a long time, then smiled faintly. If today I were the one who went bankrupt, would you still be standing here begging me? Linja froze. I continued slowly. If that day I were truly just an ordinary girl with no background, and you dumped me and I had to quietly leave, would you even turn around to look at me once? His face was deathly pale. I knew the answer, and he knew it too. It was precisely because he knew that he felt even more desperate. I gently lifted my wedding dress, looking at him with the calmest gaze possible. "Linja, the reason you regret not how much you loved me, it's because you discovered that the person you abandoned is someone you'll never be able to reach again in your lifetime." The entire hall fell silent. Linja's face was ashen, as if all his strength had been drained away. He stood amidst the dazzling lights of the engagement ceremony, looking pathetic and miserable. But this time, there was no longer any wavering in my heart. The person who had caused me sleepless nights of pain was finally just a stranger, not worth my attention. Linja still refused to give up. He stared at me, his voice hoarse, almost pleading. "Qian Qian, we loved each other for so long. Can you really forget it all?" Before I could answer, a steady sound of footsteps came from behind. The next second, a coat carrying a familiar woody scent gently draped over my shoulders. Lu Ziyan stood beside me. He didn't say much, just naturally pulled me into his arms as if declaring his ownership in front of everyone. His gaze down at Linja was chillingly cold. "Mr. Lin." "My happy day," he said indifferently. "How long do you intend to ruin it?" Linja's face instantly stiffened. If it were before, he might have dared to argue a few words, relying on his position as CEO. But now the company is bankrupt, burdened with debt, and the Liu family could ruin him with just a word. The distance between them is now like heaven and earth. Linja clenched his fists, his eyes bloodshot as he looked at me. "Qian Qian," he choked out, "I truly regret it. Since you left, the company has been in complete chaos. I only just realized that you were the one supporting everything before. I only just understood that you were the one who truly cared for me the most." Hearing this, I could only laugh. That's just how people are. Only when they lose something do they realize how important it is. But unfortunately, not everything can go back to the beginning. I gently raised my head and looked at Lu Ziyan. This man had been standing beside me the whole time, his hand holding mine, never letting go. His gaze was so gentle, completely different from the coldness he displayed towards others. In that moment, I suddenly felt incredibly lucky. Lucky because I had been hurt before. Otherwise, perhaps I wouldn't have known how to cherish someone who truly loved me so much. I turned to look at Linja one last time. "You're right about one thing." He immediately looked up, his eyes flashing with hope. I smiled softly. "The person who truly loved you before was me. But," I paused for a few seconds, "my love isn't something for others to trample on and then pick up whenever they want." Linja's eyes darkened completely. I didn't look at him anymore. I just gently held Lu Ziyan's hand. "Let's go." Lu Ziyan lowered his head to look at me, his voice immediately softening. "Okay." Just as we were about to leave, a piercing laugh suddenly came from behind. Xiao Ru appeared. She was wearing a tight-fitting red dress, her heavy makeup unable to hide the haggard look on her face. Perhaps she hadn't been living well lately. She had become much thinner. But the most terrifying thing was her eyes. They were eyes that had almost lost all reason. She stared at me and then burst into hysterical laughter. "Su Qianqian, you're very pleased with yourself, aren't you? What's so great about it?" She gritted her teeth. "It's simply because you were born into a better family than me. If I were Miss Su," her voice began to tremble with agitation, "the person standing here today would definitely be me." The entire hall erupted in commotion. I looked at her, suddenly feeling sorry for her. Even now, Xiaoru still believes she lost only because of her background. But she never understood. A truly valuable person never relies solely on their family background. Before I could even speak, my mother couldn't hold back any longer. She stepped forward directly, coldly staring at Xiaoru. "Do you really think having money is enough? A person who doesn't even have dignity." My mother chuckled faintly. "Even if born into a prominent family, they're still worthless." Xiaoru's face instantly turned pale. Just then, the security guards quickly approached and restrained her. Xiaoru began to struggle frantically. "Su Qianqian! I'm not reconciled! What did I lose?" Hearing screams echoed throughout the hall, finally fading as she was dragged out. The atmosphere returned to silence. Everyone around looked at me with completely different eyes than before. There was respect, there was admiration, and also caution. But I didn't care anymore, because the moment I turned around, I saw Lu Ziyan standing under the lights waiting for me. He extended his hand towards me. "Mrs. Lu." "It's time," I chuckled, placing my hand in his. The moment our fingers intertwined, I suddenly felt as if all the wounds of the past had finally healed completely. From now on, the person standing beside me will be him. Forever him. The music in the grand hall slowly began to play. Under the dazzling crystal lights, Lu Ziyan held my hand as we walked onto the stage. His white wedding dress trailed behind us like a sparkling galaxy, and his gaze never left me for a single second. Below were countless prominent figures in City A's business world, but at this moment they all seemed like mere backdrops. In my eye, there was only the man beside me. The man who had secretly loved me for years. The man who traveled halfway around the world just to be by my side. The man who always held me in the most important place in his heart. The MC on stage was smiling and saying something, and applause and blessings rang out all around, but my head was buzzing as if I had just fallen into a beautiful, unreal dream. Until Lu Ziyan gently squeezed my hand. "Su Qianqian?" "Hmm?" He lowered his head to look at me, his deep eyes reflecting the sparkling lights. "You're distracted." I snapped back to reality, immediately feeling guilty. "No?" He chuckled softly. "Yes." I was about to argue back when he suddenly leaned down close to my ear, his low voice full of amusement. "Don't worry. I won't let you get away." My ears immediately burned. This man really knows how to tease people more and more. Just then, the MC brought the microphone to Liu Zheyan's face. Mr. Liu, today is your engagement to Miss Su. Do you have anything you'd like to say to her? The entire hall fell silent. Countless eyes turned towards the stage. Liu Zheyan took the microphone, but his gaze remained fixed on me. He was silent for a few seconds, seemingly deep in thought. Then he spoke in a low voice. Actually, he chuckled softly, I'm not good at flowery language. But I know something. Many years ago, a little girl gave me a gingerbread cookie and said that Santa Claus would grant any wish. The entire audience began to murmur. I was stunned. He continued to gaze at me intently. At that time, I thought, if Santa Claus really existed, then my wish would be... His voice slowed, so gentle it made my heart tremble. When I grow up, I'll definitely marry that girl and bring her home. At that moment, the entire hall erupted. Applause, whistles, and laughter filled the air. My mother, sitting below, was so moved that she wiped away tears. My father turned and muttered, This isn't good. This kid is even more romantic than I was back then. My mother immediately glared at him. If you were even half as good as him, I'd be lighting incense to thank our ancestors. I burst out laughing. But after laughing, my eyes welled up with tears. I used to think I was the one who fell in love first. I used to think I was foolish to throw myself into love that no one truly reciprocated. Until today, I realized, it turns out that in a place I've never seen, there's always been someone who's silently liked me for so long. Liu Zheyan suddenly knelt down in front of me. The entire audience held their breath. He took a familiar dark blue ring box from his jacket pocket. It was the Harry Winston ring from that year. The ring I once thought Linja had bought to propose to me. Later I learned that to save face, Linja had sold the ring to the store a long time ago, and the buyer was Liu Zheyan. He said the ring should have belonged to me, so he wanted to put it on me himself. The light shone down on the diamond, making it sparkle dazzlingly. But what moved me most was the gaze of the man before me. He looked up at me, his voice hoarse. Su Qianqian, I know your past was unhappy. I also know you suffered a lot because of someone, but from today onwards, he gently tightened his grip on the ring. I won't let you suffer again. So, will you marry me? My heart pounded so hard, it felt like it was going to jump out of my chest. Cheers and shouts of encouragement erupted all around. Say yes! Marry him! With such a handsome CEO, what are you waiting for? I looked at the man in front of me and finally couldn't hold back my tears. Liu Zheyan immediately panicked. You shouldn't cry. Did I say something wrong? I cried and laughed at the same time, my shoulders shaking. This man, who was ruthless in the business world, became as flustered as a child whenever I cried. I held out my hand to him. Why don't you put the ring on? Liu Zheyan was stunned for 2 seconds, then his eyes lit up. He carefully placed the ring on my finger as if it were the most precious treasure of his life. The moment the ring was placed, the entire hall erupted in applause. Liu Zheyan stood up and hugged me tightly. He bowed his head, his forehead gently touching mine, his low, husky voice whispering softly in my ear, Mrs. Liu, I've finally waited for you. After that engagement ceremony, almost the entire city of A knew the name Su Qianqian. Those who had witnessed me being ridiculed at Linja's company now bowed their heads in embarrassment. Some even apologized, saying they didn't know my true identity at the time and had simply joined the crowd in the gossip. But I didn't hold a grudge anymore. A true friend or a hypocrite driven by self-interest can be easily seen through a single event. After the Su Group withdrew its investment, the Shah family was like a dilapidated house stripped of its last remaining support pillar. Projects stalled repeatedly, banks pressed for repayment, and partners canceled contracts. In less than half a year, their once proud construction company completely collapsed. On the day they moved out of City A, it was said that Shanu's mother stood in the company courtyard weeping and wailing, cursing the heavens and the earth, but no one cared anymore. As for Shanu, she finally married a businessman over 50 years old, arranged by her family, in exchange for a sum of money to salvage her last shred of reputation. People said her married life was hell. Her husband was hot-tempered, constantly yelling and even physically abusing her. She, once as proud as a peacock, was ultimately worn down by life until she had lost all her former glory. I listened in silence. There are paths one chooses for oneself. No one forced her to betray friendship, nor did anyone force her to trample on others to elevate herself. As for Lin Jie, his company went bankrupt faster than anyone expected. The partners who had toasted his upcoming IPO were now avoiding him. His office was sealed, his assets liquidated, and even the luxury car he used to show off was seized by the bank. I took over almost all of the former employees at the Su Group. After all, they were just salaried workers. They weren't at fault. On the first day at the new company, many looked at me with teary eyes. "Sister Qian Qian, thank you." I just smiled lightly. Just do a good job from now on. Lin Jie, however, seemed completely unable to accept reality. He often waited outside my company, looking much more haggard than before. His once impeccably ironed suit was now wrinkled, his chin covered in stubble, and the arrogance in his eyes had vanished. Once, during a heavy downpour, he knelt right in front of the Su Group's gate, letting the rain soak him from head to toe. "Qian Qian, I know I was wrong. Can you come back to me? Lu Ziyan and I are only engaged. You still have a chance, right?" I stood under the eaves, watching him for a long time. The man who had once coldly told me I wasn't worthy of standing beside him was now kneeling in the rain, begging for my affection. Thinking about it, it was ironic. Before I could even open my mouth, a black umbrella tilted over my head from behind. Lu Ziyan stood beside me, his hand gently around my waist, his voice calm but chillingly cold. "Did he bother you?" I shook my head. "No." He softly murmured, then looked towards Lin Jie. His gaze held no anger, yet it sent shivers down my spine. Not long after, Lin Jie was forced back to his hometown by his family. It was said his mental state was increasingly unstable, alternating between lucidity and delirium, muttering my name all day long. But those things no longer concerned me. Lu Ziyan and I quickly held our wedding. On our wedding day, almost the entire upper class of City A was present. The crystal chandeliers illuminated the entire hall. White roses stretched like a sea, and my handcrafted wedding dress was so heavy I needed someone to support me as I walked. When the doors of the ceremony hall opened, I saw Lu Ziyan standing at the end of the red carpet. The usually calm man was so nervous today that his hands were clenched tightly. He even put the ring on the wrong finger during the exchange, causing the entire hall to burst into laughter. I laughed until my eyes were red. A man like him who had secretly liked me since he was 10 years old. He waited for me for so many years and finally he truly came to me. After we got married, Lu Ziyan treated me even more indulgently than before. He almost never let me lift a finger to do anything. Every time we went home for dinner, my parents would compete to cook. My mother still maintained her passion for dark cuisine, while my father, out of pride, always praised the food while eating. I sat there laughing so hard my stomach hurt. Only Lu Ziyan was the most pitiful. He had to maintain politeness while secretly helping me deal with those bizarre dishes. Once I saw him swallow a piece of bitter banana scrambled eggs without batting an eye, his lips twitching slightly. I almost choked on my drink, laughing. "It's really hard to eat, isn't it?" He helplessly pinched my nose. "What can I do? To get married, a little hardship is worth it." I leaned on his shoulder and laughed uncontrollably. Outside the window, the fiery red sunset bathed the garden. My parents' squabbles echoed from the kitchen, while he silently held my hand as if afraid that if he let go even for a moment, I would disappear. After all this, I finally understood. A person who truly loves you won't let you humble yourself. They're only afraid they're not good enough to be worthy of standing beside you.